In this movie, we're going to take a look at some of the main features of the curve editor. To do that, we'll load a script. So we'll go up and click on the Load button, pop-up menu, Favorites, let go on the exercise files, select Chapter 5, double-click, go to Shake Script 02, double-click, and loads this little script that we'll use to work with. We'll go to the Brightness node and click on the Parameters button. That loads the brightness parameters into the Parameters tab, which includes a little animation curve. We'll go up to the Curve Editor tab and open up the Curve Editor window, but the animation curve is not there yet, because I have not told it to be there by turning on this check mark. Remember, this check mark loads and unloads curves into the Curve Editor. Let's do a quick review of navigating in the Curve Editor. Middle mouse click and drag to pan, Control middle mouse click and drag to scale, and then the Home key to center the curve in the viewer. Now let's return to the Node View by coming down to the Node View tab and clicking on that. Next, we want to add the two animation curves that are in this pan node to the Curve Editor. I click on the Parameters button, loading the pan parameters down here in the Parameters tab. If I unfold the pan parameter, I get two more, X-pan and Y-pan. If I turn on the pan, both X and Y are enabled and will be loaded into the Curve Editor when I click on the Curve Editor tab. You may recall that if you put your cursor in any window and tap the spacebar, that window will expand to fill the entire user interface like this. This is usually the most convenient way to work with the Curve Editor. Notice that the brightness curve has been flattened to a single thin line. The reason is that the Curve Editor is an auto-scaling graph. It's going to take all of the different curves and scale them together until they all fit within the window. While the X and Y values have numbers like 119 and minus 65, the brightness value has only got 0.8, so it collapsed down to hardly anything at all. Down here is the loaded parameters list. This is the list of all the loaded parameters. The first column, the V column, is the visibility button. As I turn these on and off, all it does is make the curve visible or invisible. It does not remove it from the Curve Editor like the checkmark would. The Node column is the name of the node that curve has come from. The Name column is the name of the parameter that curve is associated with. The Value column is the value the curve is returning on the current frame. If I roll out here to frame 18, then the Y-pan is going to return 40.563. The Type column is the type of mathematical curve being used. There are a number of splines to choose from, and linear and step curves, so we'll be looking at these more closely later. The Cycle column has to do with which rule you want to use when you get past the last control point in the curve. Do you want to hold the value, or keep the slope, or loop, or any number of other options? And again, we'll take a look at those later. When working with the Curve Editor, you need to select and deselect the curves you want to work on. There's two places to do that. One of them is up here in the viewer. If I click on an empty part of the graph, all of the curves are deselected. You can then click on any one curve and it'll be selected. If you want to select more than one, you can draw a rectangle, and all the curves that it crosses will be selected. The other place is down here in the Loaded Parameters list. A click here will deselect them all. Control A will select all of them, deselect, or you can click on one at a time. Or, if you do a shift click, you can build up a list, or you can select them all and do a command click to deselect one or two. The other important feature you'll want to know about is the Move Lock button right here. With the Move Lock button in the default position, any control point can be moved in any direction. But if the Move Lock button is set to vertical, it's locked to moving only in the vertical direction, and you cannot move it left or right. If the Move Lock is changed to horizontal, now it'll move horizontally, but you can't do a vertical move. Down here are the Home and the Fit buttons. These are the same one as the Home button on the keyboard and the F button on the keyboard, but they do work slightly differently in the Curve Editor than in the other part of the user interface. The Home button fits all of the curves into the viewer. However, if we have just one curve selected and we hit the Fit button, then that one curve is resized to fit into the viewer. The other curves are now so far out that they're way off the screen. You can't even see them. We go back to the Home button, and all of the curves are now fit within the viewer. To remove a curve out of the viewer completely, you select the curve you want to delete, and you hit the Delete key on the keyboard. This is the other delete key, the one that's next to the equal sign. In other words, this is not the same as deleting a node. I'll press this other delete key, and the curve editor rescales itself to fit the remaining curves in the viewer for you. In this movie, we took a look at some of the main features you'll need when using the curve editor. We saw how to load multiple animation curves from different nodes. We also saw how to select, deselect, and even delete curves from the curve editor. In addition to that, we took a look at how to view some of the data and information about the curves and the control points.